Hello, everybody, and welcome along to the Event Industry News podcast. My name is James Dixon, wishing you a very good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever or wherever you are when you're tuning into today's podcast. The podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Engage, powered by D2I Systems, winner of Best Event Management Platform at the 2017 Event Technology Awards. To learn how Engage can make your business more profitable, visit d2isystems.com/engage. And on to today's episode. We're going to be talking about a business called Word of Mice. Word of Mice is the first and only global influencer community for the mice industry. To tell us more about it, we welcome Word of Mice founder Mariska to the show. Mariska, thanks very much for joining the podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me.
Good to have you aboard. So, Word of Mice, as I said, let's just run through that sentence again. The first and only global influencer community for the mice industry. Let's hand that over to you now and tell us more about it. Why was it set up and what does it do?
Well, first of all, ideas come from frustration. The industry, I always say, we are very good in creating experience for others and making that human connection. But I saw when I was a freelance event planner and I went to IMEX or IBTM or other exhibitions, I didn't saw that experience or that connection coming from, let's say, from the suppliers. So I asked, for example, why should I organize an event in your hotel or in your venue or in your destination? And I often got the folder, the flyer, the USB stick, the goodie bags. I said, but that doesn't answer my question. I want to know, what is your unique selling point? Mm-hmm. What have you done in the past? Like what kind of events? And why should I choose for your hotel, for the Marriott or the Hilton instead of, for example, for Accor or NH Hotel? And often I didn't get that, let's say, that right answer. And I said, how is it possible that we spend millions of euros on creating great events, but you're not able to express, let's say, to spread that message towards your new clients? So I ended up with a goodie bag and a USB stick. And of course, you don't look at it afterwards when you come home. So I said, we're living in the 21st century. Things need to change. We need to change the way we are, let's say, we are doing our marketing. And as I'm coming from the travel industry where we're working for 10 years, and I said, there's so many bloggers and vloggers out there who tell you great stories, who make blogs and vlogs about your service, about your product, why you are standing out of the market. I said, if we can do something similar, but influencers, and I prefer they use the word experts, mm-hmm. people who have the background and knowledge of our industry, so know what a DMC, DMO, RFP stands for, and let them spread the message why your hotel is unique, why is that destination unique for incentives or conferences. So I came up with the idea and I started at the end of 2016 to create that global community and to make that connection between suppliers and the influencers.
And how long was the process of being able to source and track down these influencers before you were in a position where you had enough of them to be able to actually offer that as a service?
Well, that's a very good question, but it's actually an ongoing process. So I give a lot of presentations, let's say all around the world. So it's an ongoing process, mm-hmm. because I think there are a lot of freelance event planners out there who might have the right profile, or people who are still working, let's say as an employee, but thinking of going on their own, but have a lot of followers and have a sort of authority, are actually already an influencer. So it's an ongoing process of searching people. So, and of course we have created a community, but if we receive a request from a client, we also go beyond that community. So it's an ongoing daily process of searching for people to let our community grow.
And what sort of, I suppose, experience and subject matter would these influencers be writing about? And how does their own knowledge and expertise then assist the event planners, the event organizers in the objectives and the goals that they're looking to achieve?
Well, perhaps I should go first towards the, let's say, the process. First of all, we look into the goals of our clients. What do they want to achieve with a certain campaign? And first of all, say, of course, it's part of your strategy. It's part of your marketing plan. So, for example, if you have a destination and there's a new airline coming towards your destination, and you said, I've always focused, let's say, on the Dutch market, and now I have a new airline coming from London. I need to focus more on the UK. So then it's logical that we search from an influencer from the UK. And as a destination perhaps is a core business, is incentives, we're looking for someone with a background in incentives based in London or based in UK and who have that audience. So it all depends on the briefing and let's say the briefing, we call it a quick scan that we do with the client to get all that data sorted out and say, okay, what's your current audience, but what's the audience that you want to attract? What are your countries? Who's your current target audience? Do you have any, let's say, plans for the future? Are you going to refurbish your rooms? Like I said, there's a new airline coming towards your destination, and with all that data, we are going to make the match with the influencer. So it's a, let's say, it's a quite of a long process and intensive process to first have all the data of the client and then to make the right match with the influencer, so that person knows all about incentives and can be also part of the campaign, because we ask their input and their knowledge to say, hey, for example, we have here Aruba wants to focus now on the UK market, and say, what have you done as an influencer to spread already your message? Your audience is more on LinkedIn or more on Facebook. How can we create a campaign together to spread that message within and to reach that right audience?
When you find the right influencers to assist you with any given campaign, what's the incentive for them? Is it a financial incentive? Is it one of increasing their own audience share, or is it a straightforward business agreement?
Well, also a very good question, because a lot of people are curious, do these people get paid, or how much money do they get? Do they get 10,000 euros for an Instagram post? No, that's not yet. Perhaps it's coming, not yet in our business. If you look towards the campaigns that we do, there's first of all a thorough research needed. So perhaps the destination, I would say, is totally new or the service is new, but you need to have a background information as an influencer. So they do their research up front, they write content planning, they give the input for the campaign. So that's already perhaps 2 days of work. And if the campaign starts, so the campaign usually takes for at least 6 months, sometimes even longer, so it can be a year. And it sometimes asks between 1 or 2 days a week work. So if they need a blog, if they need to have a certain amount of tweets, and perhaps they need to make a video, they need to visit a destination. Also perhaps to follow not only the client, but perhaps also its competitors, to follow up other trends and developments which are, for example, related with Aruba. Or related with the client. So it's a thorough research that they're doing, and therefore we say, okay, this job is paid like any others, like our job is paid as well.
Sure.
So and of course there should be an interest as well for the influencer, because otherwise we wouldn't choose him or her to get involved in their campaign. So hopefully their number of followers will grow, and they will set a tone by being creative or by standing out of the market. So it should be a win-win-win for all parties. But yes, these people get paid, and like an event planner gets paid to do their job on an event, or like any other supplier. But for some people, some clients, I have lots of discussions with them, and they say, oh, do I need to get paid? Do I need to pay for them? I said, yes, because if you work 2 days a week for 6 months, you cannot expect to do them for free. I said, if you have problem with your teeth, you go to a dentist and you don't go to your neighbor to solve the problem. I said, if you want an expert, you need to pay for an expert. So that's, so hopefully this discussion will end soon one day.
Absolutely. And when and I'm curious to really sort of identify what we mean by influencers and putting in a way that our listeners and our watchers can really understand. Are we talking about people who may not necessarily work directly in the events industry, but for whatever reason maybe have a very big Instagram following, or have a significantly followed YouTube channel, people who have a really significant social media presence that you then utilize with a brief perhaps, and with an idea of what sort of content you're looking for. And they will actually go out to speak, to look at these locations, to talk positively about them, to post about them.
Yes, first of all, it's these influencers, like we call them experts, so they need to have working experience of at least 3 to 5 years to be involved as an influencer. Because if you don't have that working experience and background, you're not, let's say, an authority, you're not an influencer, a right fit for us. The second thing is there are micro influencers, so it's not about the number of followers, but it's about the quantity. So, and I think that's very important, because a lot of clients are asking, how many followers does this influencers have? But you can have an influencer like Beyonce who has perhaps 10 million followers, but perhaps only 1 or 2 persons are interested from that entire group. So these people are micro influencers and have perhaps only 1,500 followers. But if this group, more than 1,000 people, is interested for you and you haven't been in touch with them, then this influencer is the right fit. So I always say quality above quantity, and that's hopefully also something people will realize, because it's much more, it's always better that someone else says that you're good, or that your service is good, or that's the right destination for your next event, than you have to say it yourself as a sales manager, or as being the owner of your company yourself.
Since when you originally came up with the concept and the idea for this particular service, have you been able to deliver it exactly as you originally thought you would deliver it, or has it changed quite dramatically from your original ideas to how it actually it is seen now in today's world?
Well, very good question, challenging question. No, I'm not at the path where I want to be, but I think that's typically the path of every entrepreneur. First of all, as you know, we are not working in an industry which are early adapters. So there are, let's say, a lot of clients who are interested in our services, but they're still watching and observing what I'm doing, because they're curious to wait for the first results. So, and it is very difficult as a startup to get the first clients who are trustworthy and to get ongoing. So, so therefore I'm always eager to work with clients who say, okay, I see the added value, I see how can I spread my message in an authentic, fun and creative way. So, so I'm not there yet. No, I think I still have a couple of years to achieve where I want to be. But let's say after now working, let's say just a little bit more than a year, I'm already very grateful that let's say there have been a lot of great presentation, a lot of interest from clients. So there is a lot of interest, but the point of being interested and making the decision and set up the campaign, that's also sometimes a decision-making process of 6 months before clients start. And as you know, we work with yearly budgets, so people are interested now but say, yeah, it will be for 2019. I had to wait another 8 months to start with the campaign. So no, I'm not there yet, but I hope 2019 will be the year when I can say, okay, I've done now a great number of projects which I can look back and say these are also really representative for the industry, and that I can, with those outcome of these projects, let's say, get other and bigger clients involved.
We're talking on today's podcast to Mariska Kesteloo. Mariska is the founder of Word of Mice, and we're talking about utilizing influencers and experts who have a significant following of their own, either through social media or through other channels, as a means to help promote venues, destinations, and provide that as a service to event organizers. You mentioned something in the last section there, Mariska, about results, and you have people from the industry who are keenly waiting on results coming in to be able to look at that. As a company, how will you actually demonstrate and provide data or results to people to show the success of this particular service?
Of course, yeah, that's very important, because I said that's that's also the reason why I started with my company to show the results, because if you're doing offline marketing, you don't know how many people saw your message, or let's say, or okay, now you can measure also how many people visit your booth. I said those details are very important. So we use platforms to show the results, to show the number of, let's say, the number of likes, the number of retweets, the comments that you have, but more important is also the engagement, which post has got more followers, which had a better fit, which topic has read more, but also interesting, who has read your blog and who has read the video or seen the video. And are these really your target audience, or perhaps it's also read by another audience? So this data is really important. So therefore, and also for the client's understanding is although you use a platform, there is a lot of manual work to get all this data sorted out and to present it in a report. And therefore, we are working in the B2B sector and not in the B2C. So it takes time before your message reaches the right audience, unless you have, of course, an amazing idea, or you're standing out from the market and you're using creativity and fun to really reach your target audience. But not every client, depending, of course, if it's a convention bureau or destination or a city or a hotel, depending, of course, on your policy or of the company. So so the data is key, I think, to especially for commercial companies, to, let's say, to keep track of what's going on, not only from your own service or product, but also from your competitor.
On the subject of data, we've done some episodes of the podcast that our viewers and our watchers may or may not have seen when this particular episode is broadcast, on the subject of GDPR, new regulations that are coming to effect on the 25th of May this year. I've had some brief experience in working with some of my own clients with their own data, and going through the process of re-verification. So getting everybody who is currently on your database to make sure that they are re-opting in and are absolutely certified on there. And so far, the clients I've worked with, there's been, I would say, a minority of people who have actually responded to those prompts and replied back. Now, based on that, I'm curious to ask you, is there, with this GDPR regulation coming in and people perhaps not being able to email market as successfully as they were in the past because of the reduced amount of data that they have, do you think utilizing experts and influencers via their own social media networks is going to be somewhere that will actually benefit from these new laws coming in?
Well, this could be, if people use it in the right way, this could be a huge advantage also to, I won't say to avoid the GDPR, but like you said, the influencers, you're using the network of the influencers, so the data is not owned by, neither by us, neither by the company. Of course, you can use the content of the blogs and the tweets, but this is a very great way to, let's say, I won't say to avoid the rules and regulation of GDPR, and to communicate in a direct and let's say in a direct and straightforward way. Sorry.
No, the way I see it, and the reason I ask that question is very simple. It's because people who choose to follow somebody on any social media platform, or LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be, that person is choosing to follow that person, which is a very, very different train in terms of direction to somebody actively emailing somebody using their personal information. So you know, my first instinct is that this has the potential to open up new doors if people are seeing a massive reduction in data as a result of these new regulations. Of
course, and also, like I said, and also not, let's say, to avoid GDPR, but also to use the real power of an influencer and to use his or her authenticity and knowledge and experience, and to say that your service or your product is great. That's always better than you have to say yourself, because it's much more trustworthy. So it's actually using the word of mouth, but using the new channels, social media channels, to spread your message. So so I hope with because GDPR, there's also a lot of unknown and uncertainty, and I know a lot of companies are still struggling to get all the data in place. So I hopefully that influencer marketing will give a new perspective on, I won't say to avoid, of course, GDPR, but perhaps to get the message out and to put the spotlights on your company or your service in the market.
Absolutely. Like many forms of marketing, they translate from business to business and from industry to industry. Has the service and the process that you have created and offered for the event industry, have we seen examples of the same type of thing being done in other industries where they've used experts and influencers and their own social media followings to actually deliver results for marketing in other industries?
Well, I think first of all, our sector is quite unique in that sense. We've always been, I translated literally, strange duck in the water, and comparing to other industries. Of course, I'm following also influencer marketing and other industries, but my focus is really on the mice, let's say, on the mice industry. And as we are working B2B, so 95% of all the campaigns that are going on are on the B2C market. So it's, let's say, first of all, I don't like to compare with others, because every approach, every campaign is different. And but I think we in our sector, I always say, we come on the most amazing places. We are invited for openings of hotels, parties. We get the most luxury food. As an event planner, you get the best rooms, you get the best service. So I think we have perhaps more than in other sectors, more content and more unique ways to show these items in a campaign than in other sectors where you're selling perhaps just a machine or perhaps a boring product. We are selling unique experiences, so we have a lot of, I mean, if we could use it to the full potential, which is my dream, I mean, the options and the possibilities are endless. And I hope that people also see the creativity and the options that are out there. Just a lot of people don't dare to use an influencer, and that he or she is writing in his or her own words, because that's what a lot of people is blocking to work with influencers, to give them the freedom to write about your product or service. They always want to have the sort of control freak and checking what's been written about your product or service. But I think it would be great if we can give the freedom towards the influencers and use the creativity and also fun towards the maximum. Then we can stand out from all the other sectors.
Sure. I'm looking at, if you head over to Mariska's website, which is wordofmice.com, you'll find on there quite an easy to follow guide, a 6-step process that you have on your website that essentially gives people a very clear overview of what it is you do. Number 1 being analysis. Now, number 2 in that process is scouting and selection. And I know you've touched on this briefly, but if I could just read directly from the website: scouting and selection, casting a wide net and searching our database for beloved personalities and thought leaders of today's social media platforms based on the requirements of the customer. Now, when it comes to those requirements, I know it's a ruthless question to ask, but ultimately your client will set a budget for a campaign. So you may find that certain influencers and certain people would be fantastic because of their own audiences. But is there a scenario where that person could be somebody who's quite famous or who would demand quite a lot of money in order to access their own influence, and you have to meet halfway? You have to find people who have the right reach, but who also fit the requirements budgetary wise of your own client.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, it's a challenge to find, let's say, first of all, the right influencer and the right match. And the first thing is, of course, it's a lot of, or I won't say a lot of, but it depends also, of course, on the budget. And a lot of people underestimate that if, for example, you have a campaign of 6 months, and that influencer is working for 2 days a week for 6 months in a row, and that's just the salary of the influencer. And then also we as an agency also need to get paid to get the contracts, to check if the influencers are doing their job, and let's say to get all the data in and to write reports and etc.
Yeah.
So it is challenging to find an influencer, of course, who fits in that budget, but there is a two-way communication. So therefore it's good to create that community and have already that relationship with the influencer and say, okay, we have a client, but he is on a tight budget. But if that's really an added value of the influencer, and said, okay, I'm perhaps prepared to lower my price because I see the added value for myself as well, which could be an interesting. Or if that person is too expensive, then it's up to the client, either if they really want to have that person involved, to come to an agreement and say, okay, perhaps we can find somewhere in the middle. But my let's say, and that's also my challenge, and therefore I started my company, is because as a freelancer, you know that the salaries are not that high in our industry. So I'm really fighting also for the influencers, because a lot of people underestimate the amount of work that's involved to write a good blog, write good tweets, to get engaged and to get followers and to build up that audience. So therefore I said, if an influencer asks this amount of money, I'm not going to discuss, because that's the value, and I hope that the clients see the added value as well. So some people are a bit shocked if they see the price, and I say, yeah, but and it's not that I'm driving in a Porsche. I said, but this is the money that the influencers are asking to get involved and to get all the work done, the scouting, selection, contracting, reporting, etc., etc. So it's a really time-consuming process, and therefore it's important that clients that know, because how more time involved, how higher the price, of course.
And we've discussed the data side of things and provided the results back to potential clients, or to clients who've utilized your service, but also to potential clients who want to see how successful the campaigns can be. That said, the very nature of the service that you are offering and providing for clients means that you will be able to search and point them in the direction of some of the social media feeds operated by your influencers. So there will be evidence that people can log in to various different platforms, presumably, and see. So they could go onto YouTube and see videos. They could go on Instagram and see posts from certain people. Is that content available already? Have you got reference to some of the stuff that you've already worked on?
Well, we are working on several campaigns, but like I said before, the clients confirm, and before you're working on. So we're working on different campaigns, but they haven't finished yet. So we're still waiting on the final data, which is taking me much longer than expected, because I thought I already have a lot of projects. But yeah, you have to be patient. Like I said, if you're offering a new service in a dinosaurs market, if I may say that as a Dutch lady, be straightforward. So yeah, we have to have more patience to get the right data out. But and a lot of people are waiting impatient for their data. But I said, why would you wait for all the data? I mean, you know that influencer marketing is working. It's already using. In the US, it's already an integrated part of their strategy. So we know that it's working. So it's just, you can wait for the results. For example, we're working now with Flanders in Belgium. But is that data also representative for your company? I mean, a hotel is not the same as a convention bureau.
Sure.
And we have so many different types of clients. So if we want to have all the data, then we should do representative at least 50 campaigns for all different kinds of company, which make it representative. And I hope clients won't wait until we have done 50 campaigns. I hope people have also the trust, but also to be that early adapter and to stand out from the market, because now you have the luck that the influencers don't ask as much as the celebrities, and it's still, let's say, price worthy to start now and not to wait until 2 or 3 years, where you will pay perhaps a double or the triple for the amount of influencers. So it's more interesting to jump on it now.
Absolutely.
I would say.
As we approach the end of today's episode, but before we get to that point, let's make sure that people can get in contact with you if they would like to discuss this and they've got an interest in this particular area. I've already mentioned that your website is wordofmice.com, but how would people get in touch with you if they wanted to reach out?
I mean, of course, yeah, I'm active on all social media channels. So I have either and my private accounts. And of course, all the Word of Mice accounts. So we're active on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook, of course. So all you can find just to click in Word of Mice, or you can click on my personal name, Mariska Castello, and you will find me. Or you can just send out directly an email to mariska@wordofmice.com, and I will reply you as soon as possible.
There we go, everybody. We've been talking with Mariska today about the utilization of experts and influencers and accessing their own, I suppose, social media feeds and their own networks in order to enhance the marketing campaigns to help venues, to help destinations, to help with all sorts of different elements of marketing within the events industry. Don't forget that you can stay up to date with all of the latest content from eventindustrynews.com, and you can also follow us through our own social media platforms. Just search for Event Industry News, or on Twitter it's @EventNewsBlog. The podcast, our sponsor, and a huge thanks always to our sponsors, is brought to you by Engage, powered by D2I Systems, winner of Best Event Management Platform at the 2017 Event Technology Awards. To learn how Engage can make your business more profitable, visit d2isystems.com/engage. And as always on the podcast, our final thanks always goes to our guest on the episode. Today, it's been founder of Word of Mice, Mariska Castello. Mariska, thank you very much for joining the podcast today.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
No problem, and we'll see you again, and hopefully next time we speak to you on the podcast, we'll have some updates, and we'll have some data, and we'll have some real life case studies and examples to see and track the success of your particular service. Thanks very much for watching the podcast and listening to the podcast, guys, and we will see you on the next episode. Goodbye.